Hey everyone, Piano Man Chuck here. Now I'm here to talk about my Nord Stage 2. I finally sold it, and it's like losing a dear friend, I've got to say. But it's for the better. So let me lead up to the steps that took me to selling this from the time that I bought it in 2011. Now let's step back to 2005. In 2005, Nord released the Nord Stage, which was a phenomenal piano. It was excellent. Okay, but 3 years later, they came up with its successor, the Nord Stage EX, for expanded. Okay, that was a great board. Then 3 years later, in 2011, they came out with the Nord Stage 2. That's when I bought mine. 3 years later, in 2014, it would follow that they would come up with either a Nord Stage 2 EX or a Nord Stage 3. They didn't do any of that. So, and in the process, they've also raised the price in the United States by $300. And they're getting it too. And it's an expensive board, it's not cheap. So, because they've skipped a year and coming up with a new one, I have to believe that, and I can't prove it, it's just a gut feeling, that they're going to come up with a new model in 2015 and they'll release that or announce that at NAMM 2015, which is coming up next month. So it should be either a Nord Stage 2 EX or a Nord Stage 3 or something to replace the Stage series altogether. I don't know which. So, because of that, I felt that, among other reasons, which I'll go into in a minute, I felt that because of that, if there's a new model coming out, then it's going to make my current Stage 2 model drop a little bit in value. Now, I sold it so I could capitalize on getting the most that I can for the Nord Stage 2 when I sold it, as opposed to when they announce a new model and then taking less for it. All right. Now, there's a few other reasons, as I just mentioned, that I did sell that Nord Stage 2 besides monetary. Okay, let's back up first again for a second. That Nord Stage 2 has a limited amount of memory, 512 megabytes. And that's not much by today's standards when you have things that, I mean, there's been new pianos coming out all the time, but you have things like the Kurzweil Forte that has 16 gigabytes of flash drive. And we're talking 32 times the size of that 512 megabytes of the Nord Stage 2. You have the Korg Kronos with 62 gigabytes of SSD or solid state drive of memory. So 512 megabytes, I mean, we're talking 124 times more on the Korg Kronos. So, it's falling a little bit behind the times. But you got to give Nord credit because with that 512 megabytes, some of the piano samples that they have in there, like the Fazioli, they've done a phenomenal job there. And that piano, that Fazioli, sounds better than multi gigabyte samples that I have heard or played on other digital pianos. So that's kind of a plus in their favor. So I can imagine what they can do with more memory. Now, it's not just the memory problem. The LCD on that display was like the size of my pinky. I've seen cigarettes bigger than that. So it's a real small display. It's black and white. When everybody else is starting to head towards color and touch screens, you got like the Korg Kronos with an 8-inch diagonal touch screen and color. That's pretty good. You got the Kurzweil Forte with like a 4.5-inch diagonal color screen. That's pretty good too. And again, you go back to this, it's almost like going back to the days of MS DOS. And maybe not quite that bad. But again, that Nord Stage 2 was so phenomenal of a board for me. 39 pounds, which was really, I mean, you could work with that. That's not going to break your back. wood side panels, even though they painted it red, metal frame. It wasn't going to get damaged by anything unless it got hit by a tank. So that was one great board. But when I wanted to switch pianos, and I'm a pianist, so I wanted the best piano in there. That means I had to always load their XL or extra large size piano in memory. Meaning, if I wanted to put an XL piano sample in there, I had to basically delete other piano samples to make room for that. Okay, so I rationalized that with, all right, I've got a living room. I have enough room here to put a Steinway D or a Yamaha C7 or a Bosendorfer or a Fazioli, but I can only put one in at a time. If I wanted to put another one in, I have to remove that one from my living room, put another one in. Okay, so I kind of rationalized the lack of memory with the same thing. If I want to put a Bosendorfer in there, I have to remove the Fazioli from memory and then put the Bosendorfer in. Okay, so that worked for a while. But with all these manufacturers coming out with, high memory and you can have all these samples in at once, and this is 2014, I thought, yeah, and since they're probably going to come up with a new model, it's time to get rid of the Nord Stage 2. As much as I loved it, believe me, it was like grieving for a close friend that I lost. All right, but there's other things besides the memory, besides the drop in price if they are truly coming out with another model. And those things have influenced me by other keyboard manufacturers coming out with their products. Okay, so Kawai introduced their MP11 series. I have that, and as a pianist, I fell in love with it right away. That is the closest keyboard action I have ever come to in any digital piano that feels just like an acoustic concert grand piano. Phenomenal. And also because the piano sound, the voice, is modeled after the Kawai EX concert grand piano, the 9-foot, $200,000 concert grand piano. What I have in there, that suits me as a pianist so much better than the Nord Stage 2. Triple sensor technology and all that kind of stuff. So I got a lot of the new stuff in that board, and it does so many other things, and it does it well. So then Kurzweil came out with the Forte. And as opposed to the Nord Stage 2, which was a great gigging board, but with that small LCD screen, with the small memory, you had to really plan out your gigs well in advance and get it all set up there. But with the Kurzweil Forte, with everything that was so huge, the huge sliders, the huge knobs, the huge buttons, the huge writing, so I could stand 2 arms lengths away and still read everything that was on there. That was perfect. So that Forte, and even with, how like Nord came out with everything where you don't need menus, everything is right there, everything was a dedicated knob or button or slider, and the same thing with the Forte for the main things that I really needed. And again, it was so easy. Kurzweil made it easy. So with the advent of the Kawai MP11 for the pianist, with the advent of Kurzweil's Forte, making it so easy for the gigging pianist, and these bigger screens and bigger memory and so on and so forth, and with the threat of a new model coming out from Nord, which might drop the price of the current NS2. That's what eventually made me switch over to selling the NS2, and now I'm playing it out to see what happens at NAMM 2015, whether there will be a new Nord Stage 3, Nord Stage 2 EX, or something to completely replace the Stage series with altogether. So that's my reasoning, and I'm happy to share that with you. I am a NAMM member. I will be going to NAMM 2015 in Anaheim, and that happens January 22nd through January 25th, Thursday through Sunday. So keep tuned. I will be posting videos as to what I'm finding at NAMM. I'll be reporting on those. Piano Man Chuck, peace out. Thanks for watching.